Welcome to Normalize the Conversation. I'm your host, Francesca Regeter, and today I'm joined by the founder of Take 2 Minutes, Marc Fussell. In this episode, Marc talks about the impact of making time for gratitude and positive thought. Marc, thank you so much for joining me today. Before we begin, I want to check in. How are you really?
I'm doing well. It's a good day. I have some new things happening, which new things for me are always make for exciting times. Makes me want to get up in the morning and tackle the challenges.
New things can either be really exciting. Actually, no, I don't want to say either because it's not an either or, but it can feel really exciting and there can be moments where it feels very nerve-wracking because it's outside of your comfort zone. And that's kind of what I'm going through right now. It's a new environment. Everything is exciting and there's possibilities and opportunities beyond what there was before. But there's also a completely new environment and everything's changing. And I have to really step out of my comfort zone and make an effort to go out and go do things that is not my normal. So it's like can be exciting, can be nerve-wracking. New things is good and challenging.
And that's the beauty of it, right? So over the years, I've realized that challenges, so new things quite often present challenges. New things can be good or bad. They could just be challenges, but that's what allows you to grow. I think if you get to the point you avoid new things or avoid challenges or avoid conflict, you're maybe not growing as much as you could. And not saying that growing is right or wrong for everyone, but I do believe a lot of people, as they are presented with challenges in life and they overcome those challenges, that helps you become a better person because you have more experience from that challenge you overcame.
Absolutely. It really does help you grow. And it helps you learn a lot more about yourself and get that awareness. I always thought I don't know if I always thought, but for a while I'm thinking, oh, I'm super social. I go out all the time with my friends. And that was just all part of my comfort. Same friends I've known since I was 4, right? And 12. And then going to a new place, I've learned that maybe I'm not as social as I think I am. Maybe I'm a little more anxious to meet people, and starting a conversation with someone new who I know nothing about and might not have anything in common with feels a lot scarier than calling the friend you've known for 20 years and having dinner. So it definitely helps you grow and gain a new awareness of who you are, where you're at, and what's changing for you.
Right, you have a whole new challenge right now on your shoulders, which is overcoming that and recognizing probably in the past you're going out with your friends was a comfort area because it was people you knew, whereas now you don't have that comfort you used to have, and now you have to overcome that and get accustomed to going out amongst maybe strangers or making new acquaintances, and that's a challenge in of itself. And you're gonna definitely grow and learn from that, learn more about yourself.
Yes, absolutely. And this conversation is so well timed because last night I called my dad because someone told me about this little printer where you can print out stickers and from your phone. And I was like, okay, I struggle a lot with feeling isolated. And my brain likes to tell me that I'm all alone and it's not going to get better. I struggle a lot with severe depression throughout my life. And I heard about this little printer and I was like, what if I just print out like photos that I take of each day? Maybe like this weekend, I went hiking with my brother, and I went to see the sunset, and just putting that in a journal and kind of moments that I'm grateful for that happened. So when my brain is telling me how nothing good is happening and I'm all alone, I have like this physical evidence that there's good things that I can be grateful for, in addition to also kind of grieving the loss of an old life and changing into a new life.
That's beautiful. I think gratitude is a very important part of understanding and recognizing happiness in what you have. I think gratitude is it's one of the foundations of my nonprofit, Take 2 Minutes, that we had kind of talked about, because recognizing gratitude can be difficult for people who are in challenging situations, for people who are dealing with depression, for people who are even having anxiety or having new challenges in their life. It can be difficult to recognize gratitude. But it's a very important part of your life, because if you do recognize gratitude, you really can learn to recognize what you have and ideally focus on the positive things and not the negative things. This goes back to Barbara Fredrickson, and I don't never get this quote exactly right, but I think at some point in time she said the negatives scream at us, whereas the positives only whisper. Meaning that in our life all around us, it's really easy to find negatives. It's really easy with social media, with social media can be tough in itself, but just our lives, news, anything, there's negatives all around us. And you got to sometimes look for the positives, but recognizing those, you can train your brain to recognize more positives through a little bit of exercise and gratitude.
Yeah, that is so true. The negatives do tend to scream at us, and the positives, I don't know why we do that, right? The good things that happen, we tend to just, it's part of life, right? And then the negatives, the harder times, the more difficult emotions and thought patterns, we tend to let control us and take over. And it's really hard to be able to separate the negatives and the bad days, and not the bad days, the bad moments, because it doesn't mean
Mhm.
the whole day was bad. If you can find one good moment in a day, it wasn't a bad day, it was a day. And that's something I've been learning to separate out. That it might feel like a terrible day. I was home alone crying because I didn't know what to do and I felt overwhelmed by boxes. But then there were moments where I got to cook a meal in my new place, or my
Right.
dog and I went for a walk in a new area, and that was exciting. So being able to take, I'm like rambling on about this, but being able to
No, it's
take
good.
that one good moment that you can find. Maybe there are a bunch of good moments and you didn't realize it until you start looking and start separating from, "Oh, I had a bad day," to, "I had a day that had ups and downs," and that's okay.
Totally. And I have two things to say to that, and hopefully I can keep them as short so you can ask questions. But kind of what you were talking about there is the essence of what's called the three good things activity, which is an activity that has been highly studied. And the idea behind it is at the end of every day, you should reflect on the day and think of three good things that happened that day. And it could be kind of what you said, something that you recognized you did that day. It could be something that happened to you. It could be something you just recognized a stranger doing, but just three good things. Now, this is an exercise that sometimes gets communicated incorrectly. And I say that because I've heard many people, especially again back to social media, talk about when you get up in the morning, write down three good things. No, actually, the activity is a prior to bedtime activity. It's a reflection, is what it is. And the reason why it's a reflection is if at the end of the day, let's say you've had a stressful day, so you've had a stressful day recently where you're in a new environment, you think about your friends you don't have around you, and you have to meet new people, you have all these stressors. At the end of the day, if you reflect on that day, the past day, and just come up with three good things and write them down, this is an activity built into Take 2 Minutes. And I often tell people Take 2 Minutes is a great resource, but the goal that I'm doing in our conversations, other conversations I have, as well as through Take 2 Minutes, is they get people to recognize the activity. So, three good things, if you write down three good things at the end of the day, that puts your brain into a positive state prior to you going to bed. Your subconscious then works on that positivity while you sleep to create literally new neural pathways in your brain. So in the morning, you wake up in a little bit more of a positive state. The data and the research and the research I'm mentioning was from a doctor of psychology who gave me a lot of his data, shared a lot of his data with me. He had like 40,000 participants go through his program. His data shows that this three good things exercise, you only have to do it for about 15 days for it to have a lasting effect for up to 4 to 6 months on you, meaning that it only takes 15 days at the end of the day of writing down three good things for you to create new neural pathways, new recognitions of positivity in your head. And that will last ongoing for 4 months past the activities. And
That's really cool. So I didn't realize I wasn't doing three, but when my grandmother first moved to assisted living, we've been living together. It's kind of been our life for 5 years, me and her. And I was like, there's like, what is there to live for? It's been me and her. I'm taking care of her. And it was kind of like those negative thought patterns really coming in and taking over. So I started to write down at night before bed one thing I was grateful for from that day. And then in the morning, I would have to write something I was looking forward to for the day. So it kind of
good.
forced me to find the good moment and find something to hold on to. And I really liked writing that grateful moment at the end of the day because my brain was so overwhelmed with everything's changing. I don't know where I fit in. I don't know what I'm doing. I feel like I'm out of control. Everything around me, everyone else around me knows what they're doing. Why don't I? All those negative thought patterns we love to have. And writing down that one thing I was grateful for really helped put into perspective that everything felt out of control. Absolutely. That was a very real feeling I was having. I felt lost. That was very real. But I also have things to live for. I also have good moments that are happening.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to cry until I fell asleep. I could actually smile and think about that good moment and then not wake up with my eyes still puffy and my head hurting and feeling like, oh, another day of this.
That's beautiful. I'm glad you're able to do that. Gratitude, if we talk about it a little bit more, and since we're on the topic of gratitude, I have done a few focus groups myself within Take 2 Minutes, and I found it fascinating. So, first off, Take 2 Minutes started in 2019. And between 2019 and 2024, I kind of thought of it to be in a beta state, meaning that I was getting user feedback and recognizing what was and wasn't working. One thing that I realized within when I say a couple of years, it probably took me a couple of years to recognize this, but a lot of people, when asked to write something they're grateful for or to write a gratitude statement, as I call it, had nothing. They literally had a blank mind. They could not think of anything they were grateful for. Whereas, kind of what you're saying, we all have things to be grateful for, and you need to recognize those things to get yourself into a better state. So, what I developed is something I call the gratitude challenge. And this is I'm going to circle back to my focus groups. So, the gratitude challenge is a part of Take 2 Minutes that gives you a prompt every day of something for which you should be grateful for. And they're trying to be as generic as possible. I mean, it's one of those things where there's 168 of them, and to say all 168 apply to 100% of all the population would be a false statement. But the goal is that they're all generic enough they apply to most people. One of the ones I use as an example all the time is the sun provides warmth and light to our planet. Think of a reason why you like the sun. So there's statements like that. And the idea behind it is if you can't write a gratitude statement on your own, do the gratitude challenge. Through my focus groups, and I found this, I was so happy to hear this. One focus group in particular, I had like 20 people in the focus group. All of them were a younger generation than myself, and all of them were not accustomed to writing gratitude or making gratitude statements. So they almost all, I would say 80% of them, did the gratitude challenge instead of the gratitude journaling exercise. And many of them, I'm out of the 20, I bet you 10 to 12 reached out to me and said, this is amazing. After I've done the gratitude challenge for like 12 to 14 days, I just recognize gratitude now. I go out of my house and I see things I'm grateful for. It's amazing how my mind has shifted to where I had nothing to be grateful for to now I see things all over the place. And so that goes back to the ability for your mind to be rewired to recognize these things. And I think through activities like a gratitude challenge, more people can recognize gratitude.
Absolutely. Gratitude challenge. I absolutely love that because it's so hard to start when you don't know where to start. And I think
Right.
that's a big thing people run into. And I go down that TikTok rabbit hole all the time where everyone's telling us to be grateful and think positive. I'm like, okay, how? Someone tell
Yeah.
me how. Someone give me like just one small like step forward because my brain does not naturally think positive. I wish it does. It didn't. My brain does not naturally see all the things I have to be grateful for. I have to put in the effort to really start working toward finding those small moments. And when you don't know where to start and everyone else is just promoting it like it's so easy, you're like, what is wrong with me? Why doesn't this work? So knowing that you have that challenge where yeah, it's really hard when you don't, first of all, when you've never done a gratitude practice, it's really hard
Right.
to kind of know where to start. And when you're in a darker place or things just don't feel like they're going very well or things feel like they're out of control, it's really hard to find moments you're grateful for. And it's really hard to just know where to start. So something as simple as, what do you like about the sun? Right? For me, I love going for a walk and feeling the sun on my skin. I'm from Florida, love the sun. So finding those a starting point on how to write a gratitude statement and seeing that it doesn't have to be a big thing. It doesn't have to be, I am grateful for being able to buy a new car and a new house and get married and have all these like big moments. It can be something as simple as I'm grateful that I walked outside today or
Yeah.
that I saw an act of kindness from two strangers and it gave me a little bit of hope for humanity. It could be something so
Yes.
simple.
I love that. And that's very accurate. And what I recognize for myself, a couple of things to respond to the things you just said is gratitude doesn't have to be huge and profound. I know in the summertime, I take my dogs for walks quite often, and little things like the smell of honeysuckle. I love it. And so I'll make that mental note. I'm grateful for the smell of honeysuckle. And it can be these little things, but they really help you recognize the good things, the positivity. And something I want to add here is, I started Take 2 Minutes. My goal is to help train with positive psychology. That doesn't mean that life is rainbows and butterflies, though, right? I mean, we all have ebbs and flows. We all have challenges. There's plenty of days I wake up with maybe a less than positive mood or less than positive outlook of something that's happening. Positive psychology, or what I'm trying to help people recognize, is not a life where every day is just bright and perfect. That's not reality, right? You have challenges. The beauty in my mind of positive psychology, what I've learned about positive psychology over the years, is I'm able to recognize when I'm having a bad day. A bad day for someone, there's a lot of reasons for a bad day. You could be grieving the loss of a loved one. You could be having a challenge with work. You could be let go of work, right? There's all kinds of reasons why you could be having a not so perfect day. With positive psychology, and my interpretation, those are all things you should experience still. The beauty of positive psychology is when you are ready to overcome that, you are able to do so because you recognize the activities that help you. So let me restate that. If you have a loss of a loved one, it doesn't mean you should put a smile on your face and get over it. That is not what should happen. What should happen is you should take your time to grieve. You should recognize you are grieving. If that takes you 4 days, if that takes you 4 weeks, that's fine. But you have the tools to recognize how to pull yourself out of it when you are ready to do so. And that's the important part, because we want people to pull themselves out of it when they're ready to, and not go further down into a depressive hole.
I absolutely, and it's so important to remember that you're allowed to feel, right? That
Yes.
these bad days can happen. There's this kind of toxic positivity online right now where it's you have to be happy and grateful, and even when the bad things are happening, everything has to be good and perfect. And that's not the case. We're humans. We
No.
feel, we have
Yes.
emotions. It's the beauty of being a human is we get the bad
Right.
so we can have the good. And learning that absolutely you can grieve, you can feel, you can have the worst day of your life and be angry and frustrated. All of that can exist. But then there's also tools that you can use to get through it. It doesn't have to be permanent, it doesn't have to be forever. I think
Right.
that's the big thing I've learned the past few years. When I lost my grandfather and my uncle, I really struggled, ended up in a psych ward, and I just felt like nothing was going to get better. Everyone around me seemed to be moving forward, and I felt stuck in time. And learning that all of those feelings were allowed to exist, they didn't have to just go away. But there were tools that I could use as I was ready to use them. And sometimes I tried to use a tool I wasn't ready for, and that was
Yeah, that's
okay. And
okay.
I had to
That's okay.
listen to myself and go at my own pace.
That's beautiful. Good for you, because that's exactly the way it should work. Because maybe you're not ready to move forward. And going back to emotions, there are so many emotions, right? I mean, I think there's 27 recognized distinct emotions. We look at the emotion wheel, which I don't have one in front of me, but that's 27 like core emotions. And then each one of those core emotions have 4 or 5 sub emotions. So I think if you look at it, it's 300 plus emotions that we can recognize. You should recognize those, right? There's a reason why they're all there. That's part of human existence, is you're going to recognize those emotions. And what you said, toxic positivity isn't the goal. Every day is not a perfect day. Every day has challenges, but we want people to recognize the ways to overcome when they're ready to overcome, so they don't go further into that negative state, because that's the important part. And I can't remember, I saw it on your site actually, but and I can't remember exactly the wording you had, but I'm going to paraphrase and say there are going to be better days. You just have to get through the challenge you have right now.
Yes, better days are ahead. And that doesn't
Yes,
mean
that's it.
that the better day is going to be perfect. It doesn't mean that the better day is going to, you're not going to just suddenly wake up and be like, wow, everything's perfect. I love life. But maybe you'll notice that moment of gratitude and you won't have to try so hard to find it. Or maybe
Exactly.
you'll get up and you'll have the energy to go for a walk and you won't snooze your alarm 6 times. Maybe you'll actually be able to find the willingness to go out with friends, right? Maybe it's just better days can be better, not better, can be small steps forward.
Yeah.
And again, those steps are at our own pace. I always say I was walking with my brother this weekend. He's 6'5" and I'm 5'5". So his steps are a lot bigger than mine. So he's always, and I was in heels, and he's like, let's walk a few miles. Not a good idea. But he's in sneakers, walks faster than me, bigger steps in general. And I'm over there falling behind in heels. And he was like, come on, you need to keep up. I was like, I'm going at my pace. You got to go at your pace. And maybe don't leave me behind because I'm your sister and we're walking and it's dark, but you do you. But that's kind of like life. We all go at different paces. Some people have bigger steps that they can take. Some people have a lot of small steps to get there. And that's all okay. And it's finding, going back to gratitude, for me, that was the first big step, because then I was forced to end my day with something good and not just tears. I cry a lot. So it wasn't just tears. It was actually like, okay, it's okay. And when I woke up in the morning, I would write down the thing I'm looking forward to and I'd reread that gratitude thing. And it forced me to wake up with not a positive mindset, but with a it's okay today mindset. And that really helped go from why am I here to I'm excited to be here and see what happens today.
Good. No, and let's put that all together. So we've talked about gratitude, and we've talked about three good things. The focus, going back to my focus groups, all of my focus group participants followed the same course. And the course was, once the focus group started, they took what's called a modified differential emotion scale questionnaire. And that's a lot of words, but it's short for MDES questionnaire. It's a questionnaire that's 20 questions long, and it ranks your positivity against your negativity, and it gives you a score. It says you're a 1-to-1 ratio or you're a 2-to-1 ratio. And what that means is if you're a 1-to-1 ratio, you have about an equal amount negativity and positivity. The scoring doesn't go below 1-to-1. And what I found is there are a lot of people who actually have more negativity than positivity, but it's going to still show you a 1-to-1 ratio at that point. So anyway, everyone took the MDS questionnaire on day one. And when I say everyone, it's been 33 participants to it, I think, so far who partook in this course. Obviously, more people than that have gone through Take 2 Minutes. This is just focus groups I did. So we started with the MDS, and then they had 15 days of nothing besides gratitude journaling. So many participants did the gratitude challenge if they weren't familiar with gratitude journaling. Others did gratitude journaling because they're familiar with it. But you do that for 15 days straight. So every morning when you wake up, ideally, you write down a gratitude statement. And it could be not right when you wake up. It could be 2 hours later, but it's a morning activity of writing the gratitude or recognizing gratitude. Then at the 15-day mark, we added a new exercise, which is the 3 good things we spoke of earlier. So at 15 days, you started at 3 good things in the evening. You continue your gratitude journal in the morning, but you added on the 3 good things in the evening. So now you're waking up every morning, writing down a gratitude statement. And then in the evening, you're reflecting on the day and writing down 3 good things from that day. And then at the end of 30 days, they rested or paused for 5 days. And then they took a second MDES questionnaire. This allowed me to compare their first MDS against the second MDS to see ideally an improvement. And my studies have shown that 95% of all participants who complete all the activities in just 30 days have an average of a 200% increase in positivity, which that's amazing to think for 30. If you try something for 30 days, you can increase your positivity on average of 200% in such a short amount of time.
Wow, I'm doing this now. I'm trying this starting tonight or tomorrow morning. I love that because it's so true. Waking up with just that moment of gratitude and finding something small, and then the 3 good things. I used to do that to my grandmother when she was before her Alzheimer's got to the point where she couldn't. But I'd make her write down 3 good things, and I love her so much.
Nice.
And I would have to kind of get mad at her every day because I'm like, 3 good things that aren't me. Because it would be like my granddaughter talked to me today. My granddaughter sat next to me, and it was just like every day the same me doing something for her. And I had to help her find those moments when I wasn't there. And over time, she started writing. I had pancakes today. I'm just so excited for her pancakes. I went to the pool and exercised today. And what was the third? Oh, I had wine with my friends. So she was able to find the good things, even though she was grieving, even though she felt very isolated, even though her memory was starting to decline and she knew something wasn't right. She was able to find three good things. And instead of feeling defeated every day, she kind of felt a little bit excited to find her three good things. So it just changed the way she went through the day. And it was, I didn't call it three good things, but now that's what I'm calling it because that was genius. I love that.
Yeah.
But I called it three happy moments, right? And it was just things that made her smile during the day. And I don't know why I never did it for myself like that. I should have, but it did make such a difference with her. And I think that shows for all ages. It's never too late for any of us to start finding tools that work for us. And something as simple as a moment of gratitude and three good things, it might sound so simple. I think people think, oh, that's too simple. It's not going to work. But it's the simple things, those small steps that we can do that really do add up. I mean, 200% or 200 times, that's incredible.
Yeah. Well, one, you're a beautiful person for doing that with your grandma. That's an amazing story in and of itself. So you should be proud of yourself for that. And also, your grandma was doing it right. I mean, you don't have to, again, going back to our earlier comment, these don't have to be profound things. It's just recognizing goodness in your day, three good things. The wine drinking, swimming, or pool time, and pancakes. Those are perfect because you're still reminiscing on something that made you happy. And it's a small thing, but the beauty of it is the way your brain works is you act on those small things to recognize positivity more easily as you do it more and more. So it's training your brain is what it is. An analogy we can always use is if anyone works out or cares to work out or cares to go to the gym or even go for walks, right? We can use the same analogy. Day one of going to the gym, you're not going to lift excessive weights. You're not going to be the strongest person in the gym, right? It takes you time to get to that strength. Similar for walking. I'm probably bad about in the winter time. I don't walk as much as I do in the spring and summer. And so it seems like every spring and summer, I'm back to starting my walks with maybe making it a mile. But then by the end of summer, I'm going like 4 miles every morning, right? And so it's that same thing with your brain. Day one of you recognizing gratitude doesn't mean you're going to be a positive person on day two. You have to stick with it for a bit. But as you stick with it, you do see improvements and you do see your brain recognizing, going back to our statement from Barbara Fredrickson, your brain recognizing the positive whispers that are out there because you've trained your brain to do so.
That is such an important reminder. I know I love instant gratification. So I feel like that's everyone does now. We can binge watch
Right.
everything on no
Yeah.
more commercials. Um, I love that instant gratification. When packages on Amazon, it was like it can be delivered in like the same day now. That's amazing. So I love the instant gratification and learning to appreciate the small steps, learning to remind myself it doesn't have to be 0 to 100 in 20 seconds, in one day, in one week. It takes time, and that's okay. And it doesn't mean I'm broken, it doesn't mean something's wrong with me, it doesn't mean it doesn't work. It just means that one, it takes time for habits to build. Two, it's something new and outside our comfort zone. So it takes time for us to get more comfortable with and to start really naturally seeing in our day. It takes time, and that's okay. Can't emphasize that enough because, again, that instant gratification, like when something doesn't work right away. Back to the gym analogy, I'm going kind of off topic, but this was so important to me because I went with my cousin to the gym, and she's very, very strong, works out every day, has been doing it for a very long time. I, on the other hand, can't lift more than 5 pounds. And I decided to try to keep up with her. I couldn't walk for like a week and a half. I was in so much pain. Did not go
Right.
back to the gym since. It's been like months. Now I walk. And you can't just walk in and assume that you can do it all and that it's going to be this big step, quick fix. You can try, it's likely not going to work. It's learning to build up to it. That makes, first of all, the journey more fun and exciting, where you get to actually see the progress and gives you time to learn new things, build new habits, and appreciate the journey.
I love all of that. And you're spot on that analogy because I try to work out, but again, because life has ebbs and flows, there are times I stop working out and I can stop working out for months at a time. And even after working out and stopping for months at a time, I'll go back and overdo it. And all of a sudden I'm sore for, like you said, days on end because I overdid it, thinking I was where I was 4 months ago, but I haven't worked out in 4 months. The same works for positivity. We do live in a world where everyone wants instant gratification. They want instant solutions, but that is not always the reality. If you're shopping on Amazon, you can probably get something the same day. But if you're looking at trying to be more positive in your life, it does take practice. It does take exercise. It takes sticking with it. Just like your gym analogy, or something I tell my son. He's a younger generation, obviously, than I am. But I do see that he quite often, if he doesn't excel at something day one, wants to give up. And I have to repeatedly explain, listen, you're not going to become professional quality at anything without putting time into it, without putting, practicing. We're all going to be naturally good at something probably, but one, you got to find that thing, and two, everything in between that and you else you want to try is going to take you practice, and that practice is what makes you better at something, and that practice is what makes you feel good about your accomplishments because you recognize it. Your gym analogy, my older son worked out a lot. We go back 4 years from now, I probably worked out very little. And when he encouraged me to start working out, I was kind of like your gym analogy. I wasn't good at it at all. He was much better at everything than I was, but I stuck with it over time and I saw improvements. And that just makes you feel so good when all of a sudden you realize, look, I'm doing 10 times the weight I did or 10 times the duration, distance, whatever it may be, than when I started. And you recognize, you see the improvement, you feel good about that. And the same thing works for positive psychology. These, activities of gratitude, three good things, after you do them and you go outside and you start realizing, you're just recognizing gratitude, you're gonna feel so good about yourself. It's like, wow, I didn't recognize anything I was grateful for 3 weeks ago. And now I'm just naturally recognizing things. That'll put you into a better spirit just by itself.
That's something that my dad's also teaching me right now. Because he's like, you have to stop thinking that you're going to go from a startup, small business on your own while in grad school to the successful entrepreneur overnight. It looks like it happens overnight online because
Look,
suddenly someone is unknown, your business is unknown, and then all of a
yes.
sudden they're everywhere. But that's not how life works. He sends me motivational Instagram reels in the morning. Don't know why I taught him how to do that. So he sends it to me, and it's always about building habits, building effective habits, taking it one day at a time, stop expecting everything to just happen. And this whole conversation, it's again about those habits, building it, small steps. It's going to, once you start doing it consistently, once you start, you might not even notice it, those small changes happening until one day you're like, wow, I actually woke up and I saw the sun and I was excited about it and I felt really grateful for it. And then I was doing something else and I felt this moment of gratitude. And I didn't just think it in my brain, but I felt it in my body. And it just may happen slowly to where you don't recognize it till all of a sudden you see it and you're like, oh. But you can't get to that moment without those small steps that feel tedious and difficult in the beginning.
So good for your dad. That reminded me of a story that I tell a lot, but we haven't talked about it here. Take 2 minutes started from my older son. And he was in high school in 2015-ish, around that time. And he was struggling a bit with positivity. He was struggling with high school, right? He was coming home and I don't want to, label it depressed, but he was coming home sad or stressed or not in a good mood. I could tell it was really taking a toll on him. And so what I did is started sending him a positive message every day around noon, letting him know he's loved, letting him know there's people out there that care about him, trying to lift his spirit some. And that and I could go into the full story, but that is what snowballed into Take 2 Minutes because I'm a technologist by heart and I have a full-time job, a career. And so what I found was quite often around noon every day, which was the best time to send him a positive message. I was quite often heads down working or in a meeting, or sometimes even by noon, not as much in a positive state as I was like at 5 in the morning or 6 in the morning when I got up and was doing the me time, as I call it. So what I did was I wrote a program that allowed me to take notes at 5 or 6 in the morning about something I was thinking that I wanted to share with him that was positive to hopefully lift his spirits up. And then my application would take one of those notes and send it to him at noon. So I wasn't actually sending the message to him. He didn't know it at the time, but all he knew he was getting a message from me still at noon. That kind of rolled into other people wanting my positive messages. And from there, it just kept going into more and more until it became Take 2 Minutes in 2019, which is a whole robust system. But point being, Take 2 Minutes still has positive messaging built into it. So as a member of Take 2 Minutes, someone can select when they get their positive messages every day. And just like the gratitude challenge, there's, I think we're up to like 1,600 positive messages. It doesn't mean all 1,600 are going to resonate with you or any one person, right? The goal is if you read ones in the morning, they should all be beneficial, but there'll be certain ones that resonate more with each person. But it does give people the opportunity to get something ideally uplifting or educational or informational towards positivity via one of the messages. And at this point, all the messages have been read by coaches, counselors, or psychologists to kind of vet them all. So I feel like they're all a good set of messages.
Wow, that's amazing. It just started as sending messages to your son, being a caring parent, and then you were able to build that into helping thousands. That's going to continue to make such an impact. And with every person that learns a gratitude practice from you and tells someone else, it's a chain reaction, and you're changing so many lives. You are absolutely incredible. As we're wrapping up, can you tell people how they can learn more about Take 2 Minutes?
So to what you said, you're incredible also because as I looked at your website, we talked about this on the intro. We both kind of have a similar goal, I believe, and that is to help people get into a better spot, to help people recognize, as you said, there are better days ahead. I'm always saddened when I hear of people who have lost loved ones or have, people who have taken their own life. Those stories really hit me deeply. And so, similar to you, my goal of Take 2 Minutes is to help people get into a better mindset. And Take 2 Minutes is accessible at take2minutes.org. As we talked about, it is a nonprofit, just like your entity. And the goal is to help people. But you can go to take2minutes.org. It is a system that uses SMS or text messaging for its main communication path. So the sign up process is to enter your phone number on the homepage. The reason why you're entering your phone number again, so it can text you messages. The system is a what's called progressive web app, and that sounds really fancy, but what it means is it's a website that's supposed to act like a web app. So it's all mobile friendly is what that means. You don't go to the app store to download it though, you just go to take2minutes.org. So the way it's been developed by me is you can fully access everything via the website. You can go to your phone, go to take2minutes.org. You can find meditations, you can find the 3 Good Things activity, you can find gratitude journaling, the gratitude challenge, whatever you want. Or because I've integrated texting so much, you can text requests back, which this is the part I love and a lot of people really love, is you can be out about on the streets one day. I'm gonna go back to my honeysuckle analogy. You can smell something you like and you can pick up your phone and just text back to my number, I'm grateful for the smell of honeysuckle. It's gonna add that to your journal for you. So you don't have to go to the website, you can just text it. Similarly, if you're having anxiety, if you're at home or at school or out or wherever, and you're having a moment of anxiety, you can text back, I'm having anxiety. It's going to instantly send you back a meditation that's focused on helping calm you down along with a grounding exercise. You can use either one of them. You can, again, go to the website or the app and do it all that way, but you can just text to it as well. So that's why it prompts you for your phone number. And again, it's all available at take2minutes.org.
We're all on our phones all the time. Our phones are always right near us. Mine's always, I can always see it. And I wish I could put it away. I can't. I'm going to learn one day though. It's my goal. So our phone's always with us, and to have something that we're so used to using, we're so used to texting and being online that I'm feeling anxious instead of going down that TikTok rabbit hole that I like to, being able to send that text that's going to give you something productive, something helpful, could really make an impact. Such a difference from going down that rabbit hole. What's wrong with me? Why does my life not look like this? To here's a meditation practice. Here's a gratitude practice. Here's something I can do in this moment to feel safe, to get through it, and to keep going.
Thank you so much for listening to Normalize the Conversation. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. This podcast is an initiative of Inspiring My Generation, focusing on normalizing the conversation, bringing education and awareness to the forefront, and amplifying global voices to spark change and hope. Inspiring My Generation is a 501c3 nonprofit organization on a mission towards suicide prevention through awareness, conversation, education, and support. Connect with us on Instagram at Inspiring My Generation and visit our website inspiringmygeneration.org to learn more about our work and how you can make a difference.